The fog clung to the streets of Willow Creek like a forgotten secret, wrapping the small coastal town in a veil of mystery. Salt air mingled with the earthy scent of rain-soaked pine trees, and the distant crash of waves against the cliffs provided a constant, rhythmic backdrop. It was the kind of place where everyone knew your name, but no one truly knew your story. Elena Ramirez stood on the porch of their weathered Victorian house, her arms crossed against the chill, watching the sea mist roll in. At 28, she was a graphic designer by day, her dark hair often pulled into a messy ponytail, her brown eyes sharp with the weight of unspoken worries. She'd taken on the role of guardian for her younger brother, Alex, after their parents' car accident 3 years ago. It was a responsibility she hadn't asked for, but one she embraced with fierce determination. Alex was 18 now, tall and lanky with messy black hair and hazel eyes that always seemed to hide something. He had that effortless charisma that drew people in, but lately, it had twisted into something darker, skipping classes, hanging with the wrong crowd, small thefts that escalated to breaking into abandoned buildings for thrills. The latest call from the sheriff's office had been about a joyride in a stolen car, ending in a ditch. Elena's heart had sunk as she bailed him out, the familiar mix of anger and fear churning inside her. How many times could she save him from himself? That evening, as Alex slouched through the front door, his sneakers tracking mud across the hardwood floor, Elena's patience snapped. "Sit down," she said, her voice low but edged with steel. He rolled his eyes, dropping his backpack with a thud. "What now, sis? Gonna lecture me again?" He flopped onto the couch, his posture defiant, but there was a flicker in his eyes, something like guilt, quickly masked. Elena paced the room, her hands trembling slightly. She'd spent the afternoon searching online, desperate for answers. Forums filled with parents sharing stories of tough love, unconventional methods to break cycles of rebellion. One post had caught her eye, a sibling who had turned things around by forcing their brother to confront his ego through humiliation. It was radical, uncomfortable, but Elena was out of options. Traditional punishments, grounding, taking away his phone, had done nothing. "You've left me no choice, Alex. This ends now." He snorted. "What, you're gonna ground me for life? Big deal." But then she pulled a bag from behind the couch, spilling its contents onto the coffee table, a soft blouse, a skirt, stockings, and a pair of low heels. Items she'd bought that afternoon, her cheeks burning as she checked out. Alex's smirk faded, replaced by confusion. "What the hell is this?" "Your new reality," Elena replied, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. "If you're going to act like you don't care about the consequences, I'm going to make you feel them. Starting tomorrow, you'll live as Alexa around the house. No more hiding behind that tough guy act. You'll see what it's like to be vulnerable, to be judged." Alex stared at her, waiting for the punchline. When it didn't come, his face paled. "You're joking. This is crazy. I'm not doing that." He stood up, heading for the stairs, but Elena blocked his path, her eyes blazing. "You will, or I'll call the sheriff back and let him handle it. Charges are still pending, remember?" The air thickened with tension, Alex's defiance cracking under her gaze. He muttered curses under his breath but didn't argue further. As he stormed upstairs, Elena sank into a chair, doubt flooding her. Was this too far? The blog post had promised change, but at what cost? She didn't sleep that night, replaying her decision, the emotional weight pressing down like the fog outside. The next morning brought the first twist. Elena burst into Alex's room at dawn, yanking open the curtains. Sunlight flooded in, highlighting the disarray, clothes strewn about, posters of rock bands peeling from the walls. "Up," she commanded, tossing the outfit onto his bed. Alex groaned, shielding his eyes. "It's too early. Leave me alone." "No more excuses," she said, her tone unyielding. He sat up, glaring at the clothes, a simple sundress now, light blue with delicate straps. His face flushed red. "I'm not wearing that. It's humiliating." Elena crossed her arms. "That's the point. Get dressed, or I'll make you." Reluctantly, he grabbed the dress and headed to the bathroom. Elena waited downstairs, her heart pounding. When he emerged, the sight stopped her cold. The dress fit him surprisingly well, accentuating his slim frame. But it wasn't just that. Alex moved with an unexpected grace, almost as if he wasn't entirely uncomfortable. He avoided her eyes, tugging at the hem, but there was no outburst, no fury. Just a quiet resignation mixed with something she couldn't place. Curiosity, perhaps? It unnerved her, this early crack in her expectations. Was he submitting too easily, or was there more to his reaction than she knew? The rising conflict began as Alex started his chores, cleaning the kitchen, folding laundry, all while in the dress. Every movement felt awkward at first, the fabric swishing against his legs, a constant reminder of his vulnerability. Elena watched from the doorway, her resolve hardening, but a pang of guilt twisted in her chest. "This is ridiculous," Alex muttered as he scrubbed the counter, his voice laced with denial. "What if someone sees me?" "Then maybe you'll think about how your actions affect others," Elena shot back, but her words felt hollow. As the day wore on, Alex's initial anger gave way to a strange wonder. The dress, soft and light, felt oddly freeing compared to his usual heavy jeans. He caught his reflection in the window, and for a split second, he didn't hate what he saw. It scared him, this curiosity bubbling up, challenging everything he thought he knew about himself. By evening, the tension peaked. Alex collapsed on the couch, exhausted, the dress rumpled. "Why are you doing this to me?" he asked, his voice breaking for the first time. Elena sat beside him, her own emotions raw. "Because I love you, Alex. And I can't watch you destroy yourself anymore." Tears welled in his eyes, a mix of insecurity and denial crashing over him. But beneath it, a seed of courage stirred, the courage to face the unknown. Little did Elena know, Alex had a secret he'd buried deep, late-night curiosities about gender, hidden tabs on his browser he'd deleted in shame. This punishment was unearthing it all, setting the stage for a transformation neither could predict. And as the sun set, casting long shadows across the room, Elena wondered if she was ready for what came next. The days blurred into a haze of silken scrutiny in the Ramirez household, the fog outside mirroring the confusion swirling within. Elena had extended the punishment, turning it into a week-long ordeal, each morning bringing a new layer to Alex's enforced facade. By the third day, she introduced makeup, a simple kit from her own drawer, with foundation to smooth his skin, mascara to darken his lashes, and a soft pink lipstick that made his lips feel strangely full. "If you're going to be Alexa, you might as well look the part," she said, her voice a mix of resolve and hidden regret, as she guided his hand in the mirror. Alex sat at the vanity, his fingers trembling as he applied the products under her watchful eye. The reflection stared back, not as a mockery, but as something almost familiar, a version of himself he'd glimpsed in those late-night searches he'd never admitted to. Insecurity gnawed at him, the denial a constant whisper, "This is wrong, this isn't me." But beneath it, curiosity flickered like a candle in the wind, wondering what it would feel like to step fully into this skin. He moved through the chores with a tentative grace now, the sundress replaced by a flowy skirt and blouse, the fabrics whispering secrets against his legs. Elena noticed the shift, how his posture straightened slightly, how he no longer tugged at the hem with outright fury. It unsettled her, was this breaking him or building something else? As the week progressed, the rising conflict deepened. Elena upped the ante, handing him a pair of modest heels, nothing extravagant, just enough to force him to balance, to feel every step as a deliberate act. "Walk like you mean it," she instructed, demonstrating with her own confident stride across the living room. Alex wobbled at first, his ankles protesting, but by afternoon, he found a rhythm. The click-clack on the hardwood echoed his inner turmoil, anger at her control, shame at his submission, and a budding wonder at how natural it began to feel. He vacuumed the rugs, dusted the shelves, even cooked dinner, pasta with marinara, the apron tied over his outfit adding another layer of domestic irony. "Why are you pushing this so hard?" he asked that evening, his voice soft, mascara-smudged eyes meeting hers over the table. Elena hesitated, forking midway to her mouth. "Because I see you heading down a path that scares me, Alex. The stealing, the risks, it's like you're trying to disappear. This makes you face yourself." Her words hung heavy, laced with her own exhaustion. She'd confided in no one, not even her best friend, about this extreme measure. Guilt twisted in her gut. Was she helping or harming? But as she watched him clear the plates without complaint, a small voice inside her wondered if this was working better than she'd imagined. The mid-twist came on the 5th day, shattering the fragile equilibrium. Elena announced they were going out, not far, just to the local thrift store. 4 new additions to your wardrobe. Alex's face drained of color, the makeup unable to hide his panic. Out? Like this? Elena, please, someone might see. His voice cracked, a raw plea born of insecurity and fear. She steeled herself, remembering the blog's advice, exposure breaks the bravado. That's the point. Consequences aren't just at home. She helped him with a light jacket to blend in slightly, but the skirt peeked out, the heels forced to sway in his walk. The coastal town streets were quiet, the fog lifting to reveal curious glances from passers-by. At the thrift store, amid racks of vintage clothes, Alex's heart pounded. He browsed under Elena's guidance, picking out a few blouses and skirts, his hands shaking. Then, the unexpected, a young woman at the counter, with short-cropped hair and a kind smile, rang them up. Love the look, she said casually to Alex, no judgment in her eyes. That skirt suits you. Confidence is key, right? Alex froze, expecting ridicule, but her words landed like a lifeline. Was this acceptance? As they left, he caught his reflection in the store window, not a boy in disguise, but someone blurring the lines. The curiosity surged, overriding denial for a moment, planting a seed of courage. But back in the car, the wonder twisted into confusion. Why did that feel good? By the 7th day, the breaking point arrived like a storm rolling in from the sea. Alex, now more comfortable in the outfits, confronted Elena in the kitchen. This isn't just punishment anymore, is it? He said, his voice steady for the first time. Tears brimmed as emotions layered, wonder at his emerging self, courage to voice it, but still laced with insecurity. Elena, caught off guard, admitted her doubts. I thought it would humble you, but maybe it's changing us both. In that vulnerable exchange, Alex revealed a sliver of his secret. I've wondered about this before. Online stuff. I was scared. Elena's world tilted, her punishment had unwittingly unlocked a door she'd never known existed. The transformation began subtly, Alex experimenting with poses in the mirror, Elena shifting from enforcer to reluctant guide. Self-acceptance peeked through the cracks, but not without pain. As night fell, the fog thickened outside, and Elena discovered an old photo album in the attic, pictures of their mother in her youth, dressed in ways that echoed Alex's current form. A realization dawned, perhaps this ran deeper in their family than she thought. The attic of the old Victorian house creaked under Elena's footsteps, dust motes dancing in the beam of her flashlight like forgotten memories. The photo album lay open on the floor, its leather cover cracked with age, pages yellowed and fragile. She'd climbed up here after their confrontation, seeking solace in the quiet, but instead found a Pandora's box. Pictures of their mother, young and vibrant, in flowing dresses and scarves, her smile radiant, but wait, no. Elena's breath caught as she flipped further. There were shots of their mother with a group of friends, one figure standing out, a young man in subtle makeup, a wig, laughing freely. Scribbled notes in the margins, our secret circle, embracing the other side. Was this crossdressing? A hidden part of their family's past? Elena's mind reeled, the discovery layering guilt atop her actions. Had she inherited this unknowingly, or was fate weaving a cruel irony? Downstairs, Alex, now fully embracing the name Alexa for the day, stood before the full-length mirror in the hallway. The transformation had accelerated in the wake of their emotional clash. Elena had suggested, almost gently now, trying a wig from the thrift store haul, long, wavy chestnut locks that framed his face softly. With the makeup refined, eyeliner to accentuate his hazel eyes, blush to warm his cheeks, Alexa stared back, not as a punishment, but as a revelation. The insecurity that had plagued him melted into wonder, each brushstroke a step toward courage. This feels right, Alexa whispered, fingers tracing the curve of the blouse. The psychological shift was profound, chores became rituals, the heels a symbol of balance in chaos. But denial lingered in quiet moments, a voice questioning if this was just a phase born of coercion. As the transformation deepened, Elena joined Alexa in the living room, the photo album tucked under her arm. "We need to talk," she said, her voice trembling with newfound vulnerability. They sat on the couch, the fog outside pressing against the windows like an eager listener. Elena shared the photos, her words tumbling out. "Mom was part of something like this. Support groups, explorations. She never told us." Alexa's eyes widened, a mix of shock and relief washing over her features. "So it's in our blood? This curiosity, it's not just me?" The conversation flowed like a dam breaking, stories of hidden browser histories, suppressed feelings, and now, a familial thread connecting them. Elena's role evolved from punisher to ally, guiding Alexa through styling tips, voice modulation exercises, all while grappling with her own regrets. "I thought I was forcing change," Elena admitted, tears streaking her face, "but maybe I was unlocking what was already there." The late twist struck like lightning on a clear night. As they pored over the album, a loose letter slipped out, an old envelope addressed to their mother from a Dr. Harlan, dated just before the accident. Elena read it aloud, her voice faltering. "Your son's sessions are progressing. The gender dysphoria is evident, suppression could lead to rebellion. Recommend open discussion." It was about their father? No, the letter referenced a child, but the name was smudged. Wait, it was Elena's birth name, before she was Elena? The realization hit. Elena had been born male, transitioned young with their mother's support, her memories buried under layers of normalcy after the accident. The punishment she'd imposed on Alex was an unconscious echo of her own forgotten journey, a betrayal of self, projected onto her brother. I didn't remember," Elena whispered, collapsing into sobs. Alexa held her, the roles reversing in an ironic, poetic turn, the punished becoming the comforter. In the resolution, acceptance bloomed like wildflowers after rain. Alexa chose to explore this identity further, not as forced feminization, but as a voluntary path, with Elena's support turning genuine. They burned the letter in the fireplace, a symbolic release, vowing to honor their mother's secrets by living authentically. The coastal fog lifted the next morning, sunlight streaming in, mirroring their lifted spirits. Yet, as Alexa stepped outside for the first time fully as herself, a neighbor's knowing glance hinted at deeper town secrets, whispers of a hidden community, perhaps tied to their family's past. What if the accident wasn't an accident at all, but a cover for something more? The waves crashed against the cliffs of Willow Creek with a relentless fury, as if the ocean itself held grudges from years past. Elena and Alexa sat on the porch that evening, the photo album closed between them, but its revelations echoing like distant thunder. The air was thick with salt and unspoken questions, the fog rolling in thicker than before, blanketing the town in secrecy. Elena's hand still shook from the letter's words, her own forgotten history, a boy named Elias who became her, supported by a mother who hid it all after the crash. "How could I not remember?" Elena whispered, her voice breaking, insecurity flooding back like a tide. Alexa, in a simple dress and minimal makeup, placed a hand on her sister's arm. "Maybe it was too painful. But now we know. We're in this together." As the resolution unfolded, they decided to dig deeper. The next day, under a gray sky threatening rain, they drove to the town's archive building, a dusty old structure by the harbor, where records of accidents and local history gathered dust. Alexa, embracing her courage, walked in first, her steps steady in low flats, the wig tucked away but her posture holding a new grace. The clerk, an elderly man with wire-rimmed glasses, eyed them curiously but handed over the file on the Ramirez crash. "Old news," he muttered. "Tragic, but straightforward." Elena pored over the yellowed papers, her heart pounding. Photos of the mangled car, witness statements, a police report citing driver error on a foggy night. But something felt off, the brakes had failed, yet no mechanical fault was noted. "Look here," Alexa said, pointing to a scribbled note in the margin, "possible sabotage? Dismissed for lack of evidence." The final twist unraveled like a frayed rope. Buried in the file was a letter from Dr. Harlan, the same therapist from the album, addressed to their father days before the accident. "Your wife's support group is drawing attention. Discretion advised, some in town don't approve. Elena's world spun, the accident wasn't random. Their mother had been part of an underground network helping those exploring gender identities in a conservative town that whispered against it. Someone, perhaps a neighbor, or worse, a family friend, had tampered with the car to silence her. The betrayal stung deep, a poetic irony. The very exploration Elena had forced on Alexa was the legacy their mother died protecting. Tears streamed down Elena's face, mixing wonder at their mother's courage with the raw pain of loss. She was fighting for people like us, Alexa said softly, her own self-acceptance solidifying in that moment. And now, so are we. In the quiet aftermath, they stood by the cliffs, the wind whipping their hair. Elena turned to Alexa, a fragile smile breaking through. We honor her by living truly. Alexa nodded, stepping closer to the edge, feeling the pull of the waves below, a symbol of the unknown depths within them both. But as they turned to leave, a figure watched from the shadows, the same neighbor who'd glanced knowingly before, holding an old envelope. What secrets did they still hold, and how far would the town go to keep them buried? The sun dipped low over Willow Creek, painting the horizon in hues of amber and violet, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside the Ramirez home. It was 4:31 p.m. on Sunday, October 26, 2025, and the air carried a chill that seeped through the cracked window panes. Elena stood at the kitchen counter, her hands trembling as she clutched the old envelope the neighbor had slipped under the door that morning. The figure from the shadows had vanished before she could confront them, leaving only this cryptic relic. Alexa, now more at ease in a borrowed skirt and blouse, sat at the table, her makeup smudged from tears shed over the day's revelations. The photo album lay open, its pages a silent witness to their unraveling past. The setup shifted as Elena tore open the envelope, her heart thudding like the waves against the cliffs. Inside was a single page, handwritten, the ink faded but legible, your mother knew too much. The crash was a warning. Stop digging, or you're next. The words hit like a punch, a betrayal that twisted the knife of their mother's death deeper. Elena's knees buckled, and she sank into a chair, her face a mask of shock and fury. Someone killed her, she whispered, her voice cracking. Alexa's eyes widened, a storm of emotions, denial, fear, and a fierce curiosity, swirling within. Who would do this? And why now? She asked, her voice trembling but resolute. The rising conflict surged as they pieced together the clues. The archive file, the therapist's letter, and now this threat pointed to a conspiracy rooted in Willow Creek's hidden undercurrents. Elena remembered whispers from childhood, neighbors gossiping about those odd gatherings their mother hosted. Had she been protecting a secret society, a safe haven for those like Elena and Alexa? The thought fueled their determination, but also their dread. That night, they ventured to the cliffs where the neighbor had lingered, the envelope clutched tightly. The wind howled, carrying faint echoes of voices from below, a meeting, perhaps? The early twist struck as a flashlight beam caught them. The neighbor, a wiry man named Mr. Hargrove, emerged from the shadows. I tried to warn you, he said, his voice gruff but laced with regret. Your mother led a group, people like you, exploring who they are. Some in town wanted it silenced. The breaking point came at dawn, as they returned home to find their front door ajar, the house ransacked. Photos were torn, the album defaced, and a note pinned to the wall, last chance. Fear gripped them, but so did a burning courage. Elena's own forgotten transition fueled her resolve, she wouldn't let history repeat itself. Alexa, standing tall in her outfit, felt a psychological shift, the insecurity of the past week transforming into self-acceptance. We can't run, she said, her voice steady. We have to fight for her. The transformation deepened as they planned their next move. Elena contacted a distant cousin, a journalist in the city, sharing the evidence. Alexa began documenting their journey, recording voice memos of their discoveries, her wonder at her evolving identity blending with a fierce need for justice. The resolution took shape under a gray sky as they confronted Mr. Hargrove again, demanding names. He relented, revealing a council of old-timers who'd orchestrated the sabotage, fearing the shame of their town's secrets. Your mother was brave, he admitted, tears in his eyes. She saved lives. The late twist came as they prepared to leave, a car engine roaring nearby. A figure stepped out, not a threat, but their cousin, with a recorder and a team of investigators. The town's cover-up was about to unravel, but as they watched the lights approach, Alexa whispered, "What if they're not the only ones watching?" The emotional hook lingered, justice loomed, but so did the shadow of unknown allies, or enemies, lurking in the fog. The clock ticked past 4:33 p.m. on that gray Sunday, October 26, 2025, as Elena and Alexa huddled in the living room of their weathered Victorian, the ransacked space a testament to the danger closing in. The cousins' team of investigators, led by a sharp-eyed journalist named Mara, had arrived with lights and recorders, their presence a beacon of hope amid the chaos. The air was thick with tension, the scent of salt and pine mingling with the musty odor of overturned furniture. Elena clutched the latest threat note, her hands trembling, while Alexa stood by the window, her silhouette framed in a borrowed dress, her resolve hardening with each passing moment. The setup intensified as Mara spread documents across the table, police reports, old council minutes, and a faded map marking secret meeting spots along the cliffs. "This goes deeper than we thought," Mara said, her voice steady but urgent. "Your mother's group wasn't just support, it was resistance. Some townsfolk saw it as a threat to their way of life." Elena's heart sank, the betrayal from Part 5 morphing into a chilling realization. The crash wasn't just a warning, it was a calculated strike. Alexa's eyes flickered with a mix of wonder and fear, her journey of self-acceptance now tangled with a fight for survival. The rising conflict erupted as headlights pierced the fog outside, followed by the crunch of gravel. Voices shouted, and shadows moved. Town council members, led by a stern figure named Mr. Caldwell, stormed the porch. "You've stirred up trouble you can't handle," Caldwell barked, his face etched with decades of control. "This ends now." The early twist hit hard. Mr. Hargrove, their reluctant ally, stepped forward, his expression torn. "I tried to protect you," he said to Elena, "but they've got leverage, my daughter's safety." The betrayal stung, a knife twisting in their fragile trust, forcing Elena and Alexa to question who they could rely on. The breaking point came as Caldwell demanded the evidence, his men advancing. Mara stood her ground, recorder in hand, but a scuffle broke out, papers scattered, and Alexa grabbed the map, shoving it into her dress. "Run!" Elena shouted, her voice raw with courage. They darted out the back, the fog swallowing them as shouts echoed behind. Alexa's heels clicked awkwardly on the rocky path, her physical transformation a stark contrast to the psychological strength now driving her. Elena's own past as Elias fueled her determination, she wouldn't lose another piece of their family to this town's darkness. The transformation peaked on the cliffs, where they hid among the craggy outcrops. Alexa, breathless, pulled the map free, her hands steadying as she traced a hidden cave marked with an S, their mother's initial. The emotional shift was profound, insecurity gave way to a fierce self-acceptance, her identity now a shield against fear. Elena, tears streaking her face, whispered, "She led us here." They entered the cave, finding old journals, proof of the group's work, names of allies, and a final entry, "If I fall, keep the light burning." The discovery ignited a new purpose, blending wonder with a resolve to expose the truth. The resolution unfolded as dawn broke, the fog lifting to reveal Mara and her team approaching, having evaded the council. They had recordings, enough to bring charges. But the late twist came with a poetic sting. As they prepared to leave, a faint hum rose from the cave, a hidden transmitter, broadcasting their voices. Someone else had been listening, perhaps a deeper network tied to their mother's cause. "We're not alone," Alexa said, her voice a mix of hope and dread. The emotional hook lingered, justice was near, but the trap of unseen watchers promised a battle yet to come. The cave's damp walls glistened under the faint glow of Mara's flashlight at 4:35 p.m. on Sunday, October 26, 2025, the hum of the hidden transmitter vibrating through the air like a heartbeat. Elena and Alexa pressed against the cold stone, their breaths shallow, the weight of the past week crashing over them. The journals their mother left behind, tucked into a crevice, spilled secrets of a clandestine network, names of allies, and coded messages hinting at a resistance against Willow Creek's shadowy enforcers. Elena's hands trembled as she traced the faded ink, her own forgotten transition as Elias weaving a painful thread through the narrative. Alexa, her dress damp from the cave's mist, clutched the map, her eyes alight with a mix of wonder and determination. The setup shifted as the transmitter's hum grew louder, a voice crackling through, "Mr. Caldwell's," cold and commanding, "They're in the cave. Move now." The betrayal from Part 6 deepened, the council had tracked them and Hargrove's confession had been a trap. Elena's heart thudded, insecurity flooding back. Had she led them into a dead end? Alexa squeezed her hand, her courage steadying them both. "We're not done yet," she whispered, her voice a lifeline amid the rising panic. The rising conflict surged as footsteps echoed outside, flashlight beams slicing through the fog. Mara whispered a plan: use the journals to expose the network, but they needed to escape first. The early twist hit as they stumbled deeper into the cave, finding a narrow passage leading to an underground chamber. There, etched into the wall, was a symbol, the same S from the map, beside a hidden compartment. Inside lay a recorder, its tape labeled "Truth." Alexa pressed play, and their mother's voice filled the space, soft but resolute. "If you find this, know I loved you. The council fears us, keep fighting." The revelation shifted everything. Their mother had prepared for this, leaving a weapon against her killers. The breaking point came as the chamber's exit collapsed under a rumble of falling rocks, trapping them. Dust choked the air, and panic clawed at Elena's chest. But Alexa, her transformation complete in spirit, found a secondary tunnel, her heels discarded for bare feet as she led the way. The physical shift, once a source of humiliation, now symbolized her strength. Elena followed, the recorder clutched tight, her own psychological barriers crumbling into self-acceptance. "She gave us this," Elena said, tears mixing with grit. "We won't let it die." The transformation deepened in the tunnel's darkness, where they discovered old photographs and letters, proof of allies beyond Willow Creek, a network stretching to the city. The emotional layers peaked, insecurity turned to wonder, denial to courage, as they realized their mother's legacy was alive. The resolution took shape as they emerged on the far side of the cliffs, Mara's team waiting with reinforcements. The recorder's evidence, combined with the journals, would bring the council down. The late twist struck with poetic force as they turned to face the sea, a figure watching from a boat offshore, Dr. Harlan, the therapist, alive and signaling. "He's been protecting us," Mara said, in awe of her voice. The emotional hook lingered, justice was within reach, but the boat's shadow hinted at a larger game, a final ally, or a final trap. What if he's been playing both sides? Alexa murmured, her gaze fixed on the horizon. The sun rose over Willow Creek on a crisp Monday morning, October 27, 2025, casting a golden glow across the cliffs where the Ramirez saga had reached its climax. The air was clear now, the fog of secrets lifted, revealing a town forever changed. Elena stood at the edge of the cave's hidden exit, the recorder in her hands silent but heavy with their mother's voice. Beside her, Alexa, now fully embracing her name, adjusted the scarf around her neck, the soft fabric a gentle reminder of the journey that had transformed them both. The council had been exposed, their arrests broadcast across the region, thanks to Mara's relentless journalism and Dr. Harlan's testimony from the boat, which had docked under a flag of truce. The resolution settled like a quiet tide. The cave's journals and recorder had unraveled a web of old grudges, proving the crash was no accident but a desperate act to silence a movement. The town's hidden network, once feared, now emerged as a beacon. Dozens of individuals, inspired by their mother's courage, stepped forward, their stories echoing Alexa's own awakening. Elena, her own transition memory restored, found peace in the mirror of her past, her role as guardian evolving into a partnership with Alexa. They rebuilt the house, turning it into a safe haven, its walls adorned with photos of their mother, now a symbol of resilience. The emotional transformation was complete. Alexa's insecurity had blossomed into self-acceptance, her courage a shield against the whispers that once judged. Elena's guilt dissolved into wonder, her love for her sister a bridge over the pain of lost years. They held a small ceremony by the sea, scattering petals into the waves, a poetic farewell to their mother's sacrifice and a promise to carry her light forward. But the late twist lingered, a shadow on the horizon. As they turned from the cliffs, a letter arrived, postmarked from an unknown city, its seal unfamiliar. Inside, a single line, "The fight isn't over. Meet us where the tides turn." Dr. Harlan's boat had vanished at dawn, leaving only questions. Was this an ally's call, or a final trap from those still lurking? Elena and Alexa exchanged a glance, their hearts pounding with a mix of hope and dread. The journey had ended one chapter, but the next was already whispering in the wind. What if the tides turn toward a destiny they can't yet see?